Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be making a simple Velcro face mask. Getting started with supplies, you're going to want a 1/4 yard of fabric for the outer layer. I'd recommend a tightly woven cotton or a non-woven material. And if you're running low on materials and it's hard to find fabric for you, you can make this out of a tablecloth or even a pillowcase. You'll need a 1/4 yard of lining, and we're just using a soft, tightly woven cotton. And I'd recommend using a softer material so it doesn't irritate your face. And if you don't have the option to get 2 separate fabrics, you can make this mask all out of 1 fabric. You'll need 10 inches of Velcro, and any size Velcro will work. I recommend 1 inch or 2 inch. Extra wide double fold bias tape. You can also make this yourself or just buy it pre-made. A PM 2.5 filter, and this is going to go in the mask at the end. And lastly, your pattern, and this pattern is available at properfitclothing.com. They're super easy to use. All you have to do is print it, cut it, and you're ready to go. And everything will be linked down in the description, from the supplies to the pattern. After cutting, you're going to want to end up with 1 front main panel cut out of your outer layer, and this panel is cut on the fold. And this pattern does come in different sizes, but I highly recommend extending or shortening the back to your exact head measurements. This will give you the best and most comfortable fit possible. 1 center lining panel, and this is also cut on the fold. And 2 front bottom panels, 1 cut out of your lining and 1 cut out of your outer layer. Getting started with construction, we're going to grab that center lining panel, mark the hem lines, roll the edges over on those hem lines, and pin it into position. And once you have it pinned into position, go ahead and sew a straight stitch along those edges. And you're going to want to sew about a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Next, we're going to fold the right sides together and sew the edge that is diagonal from the fold. Once you have it pinned, do a straight stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you're going to want to snip that bottom point to make it more flush. Next, we're going to grab the front main panel, place the right sides together, and we're going to do the exact same stitch. Pin it into position, sew at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then snip that point. Next, we're going to grab both layers of the bottom main panel, place the wrong sides together. Make sure you snip the bottom notch that is indicated on the pattern. And we're going to be adding the double fold bias tape to that top flat edge. And if you're using pre-made, you just put it right on the edge and sew it on. And this is a really quick, easy method. The second method is to make your own bias tape with the bias making kit. It comes with a bunch of different size folders for whatever size you choose to use, and also a binding presser foot, so it's super easy to sew on. And if you're using this method, cut your bias tape strip to the size folder you choose. Feed the strip through the folder and iron it as it comes out the other end. And as you can see, it's rolling over both the edges as it's coming out, so it's creating that double fold bias tape. And this is another great technique if you're trying to match all the fabric on the mask. And the third technique is to use a double fold bias tape binder attachment. This will fold it and sew it on at the same time. And once you have the bias tape sewn on, go ahead and grab your twist tie or any small bendy piece of metal and slide it into that bias tape. This is going to allow you to bend it around your nose for a secure, comfortable fit. Grab your center lining, make sure you cut the notch at the top as indicated on the pattern, and also your front lining, and do the same thing. Fold your front main panel open, grab your center lining panel, place the right sides together, line up the bottom seams and the top notch. Once you have them lined up, go ahead and pin these layers together. Next, we're gonna take that bottom main panel, which is the nose cap, line up the notches on top, and make sure the right sides of the lining layers are together. And once you have the notch lined up, go ahead and pin from the center towards the outside. This will help keep everything centered. And once you have it pinned down, we're gonna go ahead and sew along that top edge as close as you can to that edge. Moving on, we're going to add bias tape to the back side edges. And again, you can use any technique that works best for you. And once you have that bias tape on, make sure you snip the edges so it's flush with the sides. Next, cut a 4 to 5 inch strip of Velcro, and we're going to be placing one on the inside and one on the outside. So that way it overlaps when you close it. And you can add more Velcro if you want, or less depending on how much you want this mask to adjust. I found that 4 to 5 inches will fit about most heads. You can also add 2 strips for more secure closure, or you can add it just along the back edge, and I recommend doing it this way if you have the exact measurement of your head. But for the video, we're going to do it with 1 strip going down the center of that side panel. Once you have the strips lined up in the center, pin them into position and sew along the outside edge. You can also use Velcro with adhesive, but I recommend sewing it on for a longer lasting mask. And go ahead and repeat the process for the other strip.
Reach the wizard.
And as you can see, this gives you some room for adjustment so it can fit different size heads. Now we're going to be adding bias tape along that top edge and that bottom edge. And I recommend going all the way through with 1 strip on the top and 1 strip on the bottom. This will save on time and materials. And I recommend leaving a little bit of bias tape at the start and at the end. We're going to be rolling those edges over and sewing them down in the next step.
Here, I could cable her. Why not semaphore? Arthur, you've got to declare yourself openly. Otherwise you'll stay right where you are.
And once you have the top done, go ahead and do the same thing to that bottom edge. And at this point, I like to double check to make sure I didn't miss any of the areas with that bias tape. Sometimes there'll be a layer that just doesn't get sewn in and you have to go back and do it, and at this point is a good time to double check. Next, we're going to finish off the ends by rolling over that bias tape and stitching it down. And we're working with about a 1/2 inch of bias tape sticking out from that end. And it's super simple, just do a little tack stitch on all of those corners. And there you have it, your mask is complete. The last step is to throw in your PM 2.5 filter. This is simply done by just sliding it into the pocket on the inside of your mask. And this mask is a great solution to not using elastic. It fits really nicely on your head and sculpts around your face, and it will not fall off with vigorous movement. This is by far my favorite mask I have made, and I'll be using this one daily. And if you're having trouble finding the PM 2.5 filters, I made a video on household materials you can use to try to replicate these filters. I'll put a link to that video in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. We're going to keep the videos coming out there, so we'll see you next time and stay safe.